Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Lonely Road. We're here to join you in your journey to heal and become a better human. Many of you may know me from my other job, my other podcast, and this is a very, very different show. And this one is going to be a deep one. We're going to be touching on grief and mental health, and whether it's stats and stories or just going extremely in depth and ADHD to the next level. We're gonna show you guys how to deal with shit. We're gonna show you how we dealt with shit because sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. Make sure to check out G Fuel. Use code RMTS to check out for 20% off. Get off those sugary energy drinks, sugary sodas. Get into something that will actually genuinely improve your life. It may even be 20%, but 20% off. That's fantastic. Get your energy drinks for $1 instead of these $3, $4 because it's ridiculous. How are you doing, KJ?
I'm doing all right. It's been a busy day as usual. It's me, KJP. Do some TikTok stuff. It's going to be a much different me, especially in this episode. But definitely the point of this whole project is to take our trauma, dealing with complicated situations and grief, and helping ourselves out of the rat race while helping others through as well.
Yeah, and I think this episode specifically is really, really kind of important to me, and especially you. Is like this time of the year was yours and your mom's time of the year every year. Like it was always Thanksgiving. It was always the memories of like sitting there hanging out and making Katie stuff the turkey with stuffing and everything
Uh,
else. You know what I'm saying? Like it was always those memories. It was always that time of the year. It was going and stealing a pie and making sure that my mom didn't have enough.
yeah. Making
Thanksgiving
kids
was
get her
BJ's
hands in
holiday.
the stuffing with her sensory issues, and it. Yes, yeah,
It's such a weird time of the year because of her being gone that it's just and I don't know if I ever had this conversation with you. This time of the year is weird now for me. And it's not just being a parent. It's like this time of the year does not feel the same.
mm,
It's not the same to me anymore. And as you see, like in our group chat, I'm trying. I'm trying my fucking damnedest.
hmm
I'm trying my damnedest to bring everybody back, but it doesn't feel the same.
no, no, it's definitely not. Um, becoming an adulty adult, not just 18 and over, but actually becoming an adult in the mindset of being an adult. I realized that my mom was the magic of the holidays.
Mhm.
She was what made it. She didn't have all the money in the world, but she made magic with what she had. And it
Yeah.
was amazing.
Like
And spread that to your
even
family as well.
even sitting down and watching like the parade with the kids or Thanksgiving and putting up the Christmas tree and everything else, it still feels not necessarily disjointed, but it just feels off. It feels like something is missing, and it's weird to feel that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely taken. I mean, it's been 13 years since my mom's passed, and it's definitely um taken me quite some time and three grandchildren to be able to look at the holidays in a different way.
Yeah, I bet.
It's been extremely difficult just because, she was my mom. She was the intelligent, strong, independent woman that I had as a role model, but she held me accountable. She showed me what accountability was by living it and walking it herself, but also held me accountable. Um, but then,
Her stories are, to me, the only person that I've seen that rivals my stories. Her stories are the most fucking pants on head retarded insane shit that you would never fucking believe. And she's like, "Yeah, this happened." And it's like, "What the fuck are you talking about, grandma? You're fucking crazy. There's no way in hell that this happened and that happened. No fucking way." I was
she,
just sitting here. I was
she
just sitting here with Maddie, and you'll remember this. We were staying the night at your mom's house, and you were home at this time. and we were all sleeping in the living room. I don't remember even why, but it was me, you, your mom, Fa, and Katie up, I believe, and Bella passed out a little while ago. And South Park came on the TV, and Maddie made a joke to me the other day, and she's like, she said something. Oh, she told me I'm ancient. I was like, and you're a 15-year-old blobfish. Just a nice little callback. She didn't understand. And she's like, Dad, why'd you call me a 14-year-old blobfish? And I'm like, okay, this is why. And I showed her the episode of South Park where they talk about evolution. And I was like, now's the time. Now's the time. It's around Thanksgiving. It's a great callback, and you'll slowly understand why. And it made me warm inside because it's such a good memory. It's so funny.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Not only I think the hardest part of getting through everything in the last little bit, she was, although I was away from home for 13 years, and I spent holidays away from home, a lot of holidays away from home. But that it didn't cushion it any, it didn't make it any easier because we became best friends as I grew older. We confided in each other. We were each other's rock. And it was difficult to form any kind of new traditions and feel okay about it.
Yeah. And I even felt that. And like a lot of those holidays, like if you take those 13 holidays, I can think of at least half of those that she was with me.
Yeah.
Or with my family, or all three of us, like both of us. Like it's crazy.
When I
She
was out
was such
city, it was her second family was your family. She adopted you and you guys adopted her.
Yeah. She was somebody who inspired me to do so much, whether it was her work in the prison system and teaching and stuff like that. It was she always gave me that light to just be like, Zach, I can actually challenge you on your intelligence. It was weird to actually have somebody walk in the room that was, willing to understand what I was saying
Right.
and willing to question me on it.
Oh, sure. She'd push the limits of your understanding in every conversation. And that was the big thing about my mom, is that, she would meet everybody where they were at, no matter where they were at. She was a master's degree educated woman, but had the same respect for the janitor as she had for the CEO of the company. It didn't matter who the hell you were. It
And that's
mattered
the
how you
biggest thing
treated
I learned from her.
Yeah. And she, she met everybody where they were at in the conversation, without making them feel less than, and wouldn't stand for feeling less than, like being made to feel less than. It was just not something that was necessary in her world.
Yeah, she is one of the I really haven't given this publicly, but I'll give it here. Her, you, Kayla, and John, the four of you, are the reason Real Men Talk Shit is the way it is. Regardless of if you really fully understand that or not, my show is sitting down, having conversation, telling stories, and just fucking about and saying whatever the fuck's off the top of your head. She was one of those people that it didn't matter what the fuck was going on. She's either going to make you laugh or make you question something, and possibly both, no matter what the hell she's talking about.
No, very possibly both. Very possibly both.
I remember the weirdest Christmas present I ever got. And I think you walked in the house right before she gave it to me. I looked down at the bottom of my stocking and there was a fucking rubber chicken at the bottom of it. I'm like, Grandma, why the fuck is there a rubber chicken at the bottom of my stocking? She said, oh no, you'll find a use for it at some point. And it wasn't even a normal rubber chicken that you could squeeze and it would make a noise. You had to flail it around like a dipshit and make it spin in order for it to make any noise, and then it whistled. Which is like, you'll figure it out eventually. Just always the most off the wall, weird shit. Like, wait, when you think of like autistic people now, like the cool people that are autistic, it is my grandma, 110%. She's like, yeah, I just know shit and I'm just weird and off the wall and I'm going to say the most random fucking shit that you'll never expect. It's just, it's funny.
Yeah.
She's one of the biggest lights that I look back to. And I think you even see that. I
Yeah.
think you commented about it a couple weeks ago. You're like, no, no, Big J's behind you. You don't have to stress. You're doing the right thing.
Yeah, no,
If you weren't, I'd feel it.
I would feel it. I feel my mother very, 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 very strongly. Like I said, you energy doesn't go; it just doesn't leave.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I would absolutely feel some type of way if the wrong thing were being done. Yep. Yeah, it's
The one
interesting.
that I would love to see her with, I would love to see her with Ava and Maddie.
Yeah,
Now that Maddie's this old and actually willing to take jokes and have fun,
yeah.
I would love to see them two together. And her with Ava would be adorable.
Her and Ava would get along great for sure.
Mhm.
No, that's for sure. Hmm. Hmm.
You know, it's so weird. Just this time of year just is so weird now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a few times of year that are weird for me. Um, the time right around and before her death is extremely weird for me because I got the call that she had tests, and then I got the call that she had the test results. And as soon as we had the test results, I was already making plans to come home.
Yeah.
And it was very, very, very fast. I came home in July. Then we got like halfway through July, we got she has 6 months. And then August 31st, she was gone. 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It was
I don't
fast.
I don't remember how fat I don't remember exactly where the last time I saw her was. But
Yeah.
it's one of my most frustrating memories of like, Zach, you need to just shut the fuck up and just do it.
Yeah.
Like she asked me for help learning how to use a laptop and I'm like, okay, here, let me see. I'll show you how to do it. And I look back at that and I was like, I was way too much of an asshole and I've rubbed the situation wrong and it frustrates me to this day.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me that I couldn't ever have that chance again.
Yeah. Yeah, she had that laptop and she bought it for me. She bought it because she knew I was coming home and she wanted me to have a computer because she knew I was on the computer all the time. And so when I came home, I remember going through her email and the laptop and teaching her how to go through it. And she mentioned that you had taught her how to go through it and she wanted to learn it again because she was afraid that she would push one button on the computer and the whole world was going to blow up. I mean,
Yeah.
she's a boomer, so she didn't, not even in her job. She was a GED educator at the prison. So she
Yeah.
taught prisoners. In the later part of her life, she did second and third grade, I believe, first and third grade, before she taught in the prison system. But yeah, she just was so afraid of the newer technology, afraid and leery both, I think.
But wanted to learn.
Yeah, she
Like,
did. Bummer.
and that was so interesting. Like watching somebody so afraid of things and not know where she is or what she's doing, but also completely coherent enough to ask and try and understand.
She's
It
willing
was,
to learn. And I believe that if she would have lived, she would have absolutely been able to work her way around a computer. She would have been a whiz, if she chose to stay doing something like that. I think she would have liked the games that, kept her mind working and, things like that, because that's just how my mom was. Crossword puzzles, she could get those at the ready.
yeah, she taught me Sudoku at like 10 years old.
Mm-hmm. She loves Sudoku. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I hated Sudoku and crosswords, and I love them both now. I have
I
it's
got
so
so
interesting.
bored. It got so consistent. I'm just like, no, I don't.
Yeah. No, they're not. I mean, I don't do them all the time like she did, but I can definitely.
I remember how many times she would just show up with a random box of donuts and say, okay, we're going Christmas shopping now.
That's
I
awesome.
remember my mom wanting to smack the shit out of me because I wanted a mature game. We went to Walmart across the river and I chose out Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. And my mom's like, "Why are you asking her for a game?" I was like, "What else do you want me to get? A NASCAR off the shelf that's $5?" She's gonna look at me and tell me, "Oh, Zach, you're being a smartass. If you're gonna ask for something, you might as well ask for something." She told me that all the time.
Yeah.
You're gonna ask for it, just ask for it.
She wouldn't tell you to pick something out if she didn't want you to.
Exactly. It's such a weird situation. I loved
Yeah.
her to death. I really did. So as you were saying, it was quick and really kind of scary.
It was really scary. So I mean, there's a few parts of the year that are tricky for me. The holidays are getting better. Most everything is getting better. I'd have to say it. 13 years. That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy to be able to say that I'm just now getting to a point where I can actually have this conversation. We've been sitting here for 16 minutes and I've teared up a few times, but I'm able to have this conversation,
And
you know?
being able to have it is so much bigger than just sitting and suffering.
Yeah, 13 years. I allowed myself to sit and run from this grief for 13 years. I didn't know how to deal with it. I tried conventional therapy, but that wasn't for me. I tried a couple of them for different reasons. It just didn't take, it didn't work.
To me, it's almost not aggressive enough.
I don't know. I found one of the counselors that I had, she was more interested in trying a new technique than getting to the bottom of my issues or
Yeah.
my trauma. Um, and I don't know. It was just, you know how I am when people come across as condescending. It's just not, I turn off right away.
Yeah.
And it was just not. So I sat in it and I sat in it and I just kept having the same cycle of feelings like every year around her. Like it goes July, I started used to it. I did It's been different this year it was way different. Last year it was a little bit different. And the year before that was the year that I decided to make the change, because I was
Mm.
tired of every year reliving the days before her death and the act of her death and after her death and just reliving these things and these pictures that I had in my mind. And then after August, which is when she passed, then comes her birthday, which is October. And that was always uh, a pain point because you wish you could show the love that you have for your
Yeah.
my mom, in this case. Um, but you can't, and you wish you would have done more when they were here, but you can only do that so much as well. So you get
Yeah.
stuck in this rut.
I
And
heard
then
this stat, and it's one of the most mind blowing things that you'll ever hear. 80% of the time that you'll spend with your parents is over when you turn 18.
yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true. And I just wish I was able to appreciate that more
Yeah.
when I was younger.
I think a lot of kids that deal with trauma and non-conventional childhood and stuff like that take the death of the parent that was there harder.
Oh yeah. Oh
because
yeah.
no matter if they were perfect or not, no matter if they caused part of the problems or whatever, they're still the one that was there when you needed them to be.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You they're not perfect beings. Parents, your parents, anybody's parents are not perfect. You might put them on a pedestal at certain points in time, and they might fall off pedestals and fall from grace like Humpty Dumpty at certain times. But they're not perfect, and they only know what they know, just like we do.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't expect them to know anything more than they know because their parents, as much as they didn't deal with their feelings, their parents didn't and didn't promote them to deal with their feelings. So it all goes down generationally. But yeah, it's nuts.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is. But I finally decided that the guilt that I was feeling was a lot of complicated guilt, and I had to actually learn what forgiving myself meant. And that's different for everybody,
Yeah.
you know. But I believe that that's the reason why I got so stuck in the grief process for so long. It's because I
I
just
think
kept on ass.
you couldn't forgive yourself and you were using it as a shield too.
Yeah.
So if you remove the shield of the grief, then it's just, can I forgive myself? Can I forgive the situation? And you couldn't because you were using it as a shield too.
Quite possibly. Yeah. You know, it's uh it's an interesting cycle
Yeah.
when you get caught in the cycles of grief. It's a cycle. It's interesting the cycles that you get into year after year after year after year. But I decided
Well,
that I wanted to do better by her.
mm,
And I couldn't do that where I was caught. I couldn't do that playing the blame game.
no.
So I decided to stop running. And when you stop running from the feeling or running away from the blame that you're putting on yourself,
Everything that you've ran from catches up to you.
it
It's
does.
not just
You gotta be
it's
ready.
not just the one thing that you remember that you're running from and you're trying to avoid. And this is not even saying to keep running because it's not. If you stop running now, there's less that will catch up. Tomorrow, there's gonna be even more. The next day, there's gonna be even more.
Oh
If you
yeah.
don't stop running now, you're going to get caught, and you're gonna be caught by things that you don't expect.
The younger you are when you stop running, the more you're going to be able to deal with it when you stop. Because just like anything, there's momentum coming when you stop. When you decide you're done, and I decided I was done. When you decide you're done, everything that you're running from is still got that momentum, and it's gonna plow your ass over.
Yep.
So be ready to be hit by some real truths when you look in the mirror, and that's
Yeah,
okay.
I got smacked with 4 years of it. I was
Yeah,
running from absolutely everything. I was finally facing some things, and it's like, "No, your entire life is going to change. Face it all now."
yeah,
And it's one of the most dramatic situations I've ever dealt with, so I completely understand. Do
oh
I
yeah,
understand losing a parent? No, not to this level, but I've absolutely felt like somebody died because of them walking away. So I get it. I get
oh
it.
yeah. Oh yeah, I mean that's real too because the secondary grief from, family members that I haven't spoken to or seen since my mom passed,
Yeah.
except for maybe at a different family event once or maybe twice. You know what I mean? Like it's really weird that that person can tie so much together.
Yeah. And, like, you even look at my grandma's funeral. which did the same exact thing.
Yeah.
She was the uniter of everybody and said that the only person else that could do this is Zach. Now it's like, now we're finally able to get back in the room together. Now there's people being united that don't necessarily even realize it. Like that to me is weird. Like there's so many people that are just the uniters. And you kind of can't fight it. You kind of just have to accept it. But it's really fucking weird to be that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
It's just it's surreal how much power some people have in those familial relationships, especially when they're so impactful to you.
Yeah. It's just amazing to know that that person has brought those relationships together for that many years.
Mhm.
And the grief that each one of those people are feeling is enough to sever the tie.
And damage the memory to the point where it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's been something that I've learned that's insane. Is just like hearing some of the stories of like, no, not because of this. And it's just like, dude, that's almost unforgivable, some of the things that I've heard. That people just push away because of this or that after a death, and it's just like, guys, this isn't how you do this.
No. No, it's definitely not. It's a painful fall of the dominoes.
Yeah,
It really is. And I
and it's
think
like,
that has a lot to do as well with why people get stuck in their grief because they can't really deal with it because they have all these ancillary grievings to do for people that are not around anymore and won't be.
and it's like even if you have those people around, all of you guys grieve at different speeds.
Yeah,
So you still could be like in the depression and not wanting to do anything, and your best friend could be right there trying to push your ass out of the damn bed, and you can't get up.
right.
Like you're kind of cycling each other. And then if you bring it up and you're talking about it, they could be like, "Hey, I can't do this. I can't
Yeah,
keep doing this every day."
yeah, yeah. It gets to the point. It gets to the breaking point. You know, you get to the point where you look at yourself and you're like, self, who the fuck are you? And when did this become your identity? You
Yeah.
know, you said that to me one time when we were just starting to talk again. That grief became my identity for quite some time.
Mhm.
And it kind of stepped me back and it made me think. It did.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So now's the time to figure out how to climb out of that.
Yeah, it felt like almost like every single thing that you posted on socials or you talked about was your mom, which your mom was an amazing person. But at the same time, if you live for your mom, you're not living for KJ. And that, like, although it was painful for you, it was not a relief, but like such a growing experience for me. I was like, I don't want to do that.
Well, yeah,
I learned just by watching it. It's like, I can't do that. I can't live my life for Brett. I can't live my life for anything that has happened ever. Can it change me? Absolutely.
yeah,
But if I sit here and hold on to it like this, I'm gonna push every single person away from me that cares.
yeah. No, I wasn't living for anybody, not even Karen. Not even caring. Not even caring. I wasn't living. I was breathing and walking. I was an NPC in life. I was breathing and walking and just going through the motions.
Yeah.
I wasn't living for her. I wasn't living for me. I wasn't fucking living.
Yeah. And that's the scary thing about this entire situation is like you did the most amazing thing starting the literacy fund and trying to like fund something that would benefit others. Like you see it with this show. I learned from you.
Yep.
I turned something that is negative and hurts into something positive that will impact others. I learned from you.
Yep. Yep.
But
And
it's like you held on to that
I did because I wanted to move it forward, but I needed to move it forward
positively and not just
positively
grief.
in something that I'm passionate about, not something my mother was passionate about. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That was awesome. I did help. The fund did help some people through with books for nursing school and tuition for this or that or whatever. You know what I mean? A few people did benefit from that literacy fund, but literacy was my mom's thing. That's something that I grabbed onto because of her, which was awesome at the time. It was something that I knew I needed to do something positive with it,
Yeah.
but I think that this is my wheelhouse.
Words. You, much like me, was always a person that was just willing to talk about fucking anything, regardless of what was going on. Whether you called me out on my shit or called, this out or that out, you were always willing to have the conversation. And it's just like, there's a reason. There's a reason why I called you out at that point, and there's a reason why still talk now. There's a reason you came back again.
Oh yeah. There's not there's always going to if the person's supposed to be in your life, there's always going to be a rebound. There's always going
Yeah.
to be a point where the person's going to come back, ebb and flow. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And if that person's meant to be in your life, that energy is going to remain around you and in your life. Now, if it's a toxic energy and it can't be in your life, that's when, you may have to cut some ties and write some letters that will never get to the person to heal. You know, tell me,
No.
I've written a
It's
couple of
it's
those.
it's crazy the impact that your mom has had on my life.
Yeah. It's crazy
Um,
the impact my mom had on people's lives that I never even realized, you know. I
yeah.
never realized just people around town, the town that she lived in general, just
Finding
the,
out that she was running to be not governor, mayor of that town was the weirdest fucking occurrence that I think we both had. Just like, oh yeah, she was running for mayor. When the fuck did that happen?
I don't know. I don't,
I'm totally.
I don't know. I don't remember that. I think she was more of the proverbial mayor. She knew everybody, you know.
It was just it was so weird. I remember going into junior year of high school, right before right after the baby was born. So going into senior year, and me and her talked for like a good 3 or 4 hours one day. And I was like, you know what? I want to go to school to be a social studies teacher. It's just what I want to do. So no, it was before Maddie was born. I think we found out we were pregnant or something. And she came and had one of those big long talks with me.
Yeah.
And I signed up for like 5 social studies classes over the next 2 years. I was so dead set on doing it. And I couldn't put in the time because I don't think it was the thing I needed to do. But it's so surreal what that history class or what teaching a history class in high school did for me as a person. It's weird when you look at what those things did.
Yeah.
If I didn't take those extra history classes and showcased something so positively in front of a teacher, then another teacher wouldn't have been like, "Hey, Zach, you need to teach this to a class that I have as seniors." Like, it's so weird. It's so weird the dots that connect and what that does to you down the line.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't see it, but sometimes other people can see it clearly. you know?
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's so interesting. It's so death is so traumatic. It's just so traumatic. We we're born, we learn to attach to people and love people. And these people, they go away, they die, they don't come back. And you wonder, you know, just makes you wonder the impact that one soul had on so many people around them.
Yeah.
And many times you don't know it until after they're gone.
No, and that's why I try and do the things that I do for my kids, for speaking on this microphone, like regardless of if it helps one person or hundreds or God forbid thousands or millions. That'd be really fucking weird. It's weird. It's weird because you want to leave an impact, like on a day to day.
Yeah.
Like okay, I know I'm jumbled. Um, so I wrote a book in like fourth or fifth grade. It's one of the few things I have from my childhood. And on the back of it, both my parents wrote essentially like a letter to me. And Fa's quote, my stepdad's quote was, "If he puts his mind to it, he'll be president. But I know for damn sure he's going to impact thousands." And it is so weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just weird what people I'm seeing it, and I'm sure you're seeing it as being a parent. I didn't get to be an actual parent. I'm a step parent, godmother, an aunt, but I'm not a parent, but I get to be a grandparent. And it's done a few things for me. It's helped curb my anger in a very profound way.
Yeah.
It's helped me see things in a full circle. And it's given me the blessing of being able to see these little people. And I can't help but look at my little granddaughter and say, this little thing, that was me once. And my mom loved the crap out of me. She was my best friend. She was my biggest cheerleader. It was very, very, very hard to lose her as quickly and suddenly as I did. And she always tried to warn me. She always tried to talk to me about death and what she wanted. And when I was younger, I wouldn't listen. I would listen. I couldn't. The feeling I thought when she died, the feeling I felt when she died, is the feeling that would come across me whenever she tried to talk about it. That's trippy.
Yeah.
That's trippy because when she died, it was a familiar feeling. And it wasn't like all the other deaths that I had talked about throughout my life. This one's completely different. This one,
It's a bookend.
a bookend, turning point of my life in many ways. It
Well,
was
like if you think of it in like terms of like a Harry Potter series, right? And your entire life is a series, and there's going to be things that are like distinct lines of like this is a climax end.
yeah,
It's one of those things for you where it's just like
yeah,
at this point this chapter is done. This
yeah.
story is done,
No,
and there's a
it's
different me after this point.
definitely a before and after event for sure.
Mhm.
It's my before and after event. Absolutely. But I never wanted to talk about it because of how it made me feel, and I didn't understand my ultra sensitive feelings back then. So I didn't know how to handle it. And I wish I had been able to listen. I wish I had been able to hear things that she was trying to tell me.
So if you had a tip for people that are going to deal with this, because everybody deals with this at some point,
Yeah.
what would your advice be to anybody who's going to be dealing with this, whether it's somebody close or a parent? How do you pull yourself out of the situation enough to handle it, to grieve the situation and release it? Because obviously you're saying, "Hey, I struggled in this." How do you do better? How would you have done better?
Well, if your parents are still around and they're not toxic AF, I would do my best to have the conversations that you want to have with them now.
Mhm.
Don't wait. Don't wait till tomorrow, because your mom could walk down to the library and somebody could hop the curb, you know, and she could not be here anymore. So if there's some kind of a situation or a conversation that you want to have with one of your parents, do it now. That's my first piece of advice. Say it now, do it now, just do it. If there's a pride, some kind of pride thing that's there, put it aside, because death is not something that you want to have happen before you're able to have those conversations that you need to have with that parent. That's the first thing. Do it now. Say it now before the event happens. My mom told me, and she would say one thing she would say, and it sunk in. You're promised two things in life. You're born, and you're gonna die. It's gonna happen.
She missed out on the third thing. There's
Taxes.
birth, taxes, and death.
Well, I don't want to get all political, but the kind of taxes are up in the air right now. All right. Anyway, but she would always say, "You're promised two things. When you're born, you're promised one thing, that you're going to die, and it's going to happen." So I take that to mean that you have to, like anything else, in order not to be anxious about it, in order not to be afraid of it, because that's what it was for me. It was fear. I feared losing my mother because my mother was my rock. She was the net underneath the rock. And so it wasn't something I ever wanted to talk about. So, in addition to having those conversations, that's going to help prepare you for the inevitable death of your parent. Both of my parents are now gone. It's sad. It's really sad. Whether you get along with them or not, it's sad. It is. And I'm happy to say that, I was on speaking terms with both parents when they passed. I wasn't as close with my father as I was with my mother, but my mother and I were hip to hip my whole life. But I would definitely say the preparations for the parent's death are the pre-conversations that you want to have with them, the getting to know them. If they served in the war and you want to know about their service, ask them about it. That's one thing that I wish I would have had a conversation with my father about, is his service, because he was a veteran
Yeah.
of the U.S. Army.
I told my ex all the time. Her great grandfather was her entire being, her entire person, and that's a bookend for her, is his death, and he helped liberate concentration camps. I'm like, if you don't ask these questions, I'm gonna be mad.
Imagine having those conversations with these people, and that's one of the things that I would say is soak all that up. You don't have to talk about death. You don't have to know what their wishes are. Understand what they want to happen. But the bottom line, this is every fucking podcast. Every podcast this goes off. You think I'd shut it off?
One of us, every single time.
Good. And my phone's a piece of shit. I'm gonna throw it.
You get a new one tomorrow. Fuck
I
it.
do. Oh man, I'm so happy. Ugh. You got to be able to take all those prerequisite conversations, those amends that need to be made, those conversations that need to be had. Those are the preparations for the event. The event's going to happen. You may be able to have a prognosis if it's a disease. You may not. They may die suddenly. You may have a prognosis and they still die suddenly, a lot quicker than what they're supposed to. It's going to shock you and you're going to think, you can handle it or you're ready. I'm sure you can handle it. I know you can handle it. But you may think you're ready, but it still may knock you right off your socks, right onto your ass. Even if you don't get along with the parent, even if you haven't spoken with the parent in years, it may knock the wind out of you. Just be ready for the blow. Just be prepared and know that another thing my mother always said is this too shall pass. It's going to be sad. You're going to be depressed at some points. But one thing that I didn't give myself permission to do was to move on. Mm-hmm. Because I felt guilty moving on without my mom. You don't have to.
The parody of that quote is so crazy when you actually think about it, because it's not just negative things.
Yeah.
If bad days happen, this too shall pass. The best day of your life, guess what? This also shall pass.
Yeah. Stay humble, because that'll pass. Yeah, absolutely.
There's one big thing, and I'm going to get this tattooed on me. I got to figure out exactly how I'm going to do it. But since I saw this movie, Act of Valor, it's a movie about SEAL Team 6, and it starts off with this poem. And it's a historical poem and reminds me so much of Big J, and the words of it make sense for her. So live your life that fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion and respect others in their view. Demand that they respect yours. Love your life. Perfect your life. Beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long and its purpose in the service of other people. Prepare a noble death song for the day when you go over the great divide. Always give a word or a sign or a salute when meeting or passing a friend, even a stranger when in a lonely place. Show respect to all people and grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the food and the joy of living. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault only lies within yourself. Abuse no one and no thing, for the abuse turns the wise ones into fools and robs the spirit of its vision. When it comes your time to die, be not like those whose heart are filled with fear of death. So that way, when the time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home.
Wow. Send me that.
I will. I got you. I'll post it here, and I'll post it in our chat later. Yeah, I think that's going on my ribs at some point. But this fits this because that's who she was.
Yeah. Yeah. She was a good friend to people. She was a great mom. I miss her.
She misses you.
But one thing I've learned is it's okay. It's okay to be sad. You have to move on. You have to move on. Even if you don't know how, one day you will. One day it'll just hit you. One day you'll get sick of your own shit. One day you'll get tired of running from your own grief or your own guilt. And it's okay. It's okay. Because they don't want you stuck in the quicksand. That is grief. Grief is, it's so true. Grief is love with nowhere to go. So you have all this love that you're pouring out to this individual, which we're taught to do, from a young age, because we as humans, we love people. We need people in our lives in many different ways. It's so interesting. The impact that these people have and can have on not just me, but my godson, my best friend, his mother, people in her community, the prisoners, the people she taught. They were in jail for pretty heavy crimes, but they still wanted to educate themselves, and she was willing to educate them. She'd want me to be happy. And I kept saying that to myself. She'd want you to be happy, but how do you do that? How do you make that pivot? It's different for everybody. For me, I had to get tired of myself. I had to get tired of these tears all the time, every day, Zach, for years, every single day. And you don't know how to stop it. That's the thing. So you get tired of it and you find out how to dig in the crates.
It's weird. It's almost like exactly how we have to end episodes or end a podcast or end a video or end anything. It's like at some point you just have to decide to click the button.
Yeah.
It's not when I'm ready to. It's not when you're ready to. It's no. There is a time where I have to turn it off. We watched the beginning of Lost again because me and my girlfriend Bree were trying to figure out exactly what we wanted to watch. So we gave two episodes to try and sell us.
Okay.
And in the first episode of Lost, the main character is a surgeon, and he's like,
Yeah.
I had this crazy surgery, and he's like, and then I split her spine, and I had fear just wash over me, and there was nothing more I could do. So I gave myself 5 seconds. I couldn't get rid of the fear, so I gave myself 5 seconds. I counted down from 5, and I said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I decided I'm not going to be scared and I'm going to do my job.
Yeah.
Just like this.